to go to school.
It's more popular for the working class to appeal to Shakespeare now because they can relate to...
Yeah, because it's dumbed down on films. I'm sorry, I am a fan of Baz Luhrmann, but the fact that it is put out there for the working class for that, for them to understand, instead of picking up a book and reading like that.
I think when it comes to interaction with music, it's not really about the music, because anyone can listen to classical and go, that's beautiful music, but it's about the message that it's giving, and it seems to be, if you're from an upper class background, because they're usually quite happy with the way things are at the moment because they've got all the money and all the power, they don't want to, they'll only really pay any attention to anything that's working class once it becomes part of the musical canon. For example, punk, when it loses its power.
Can I have a summarising point from this side and a summarising point from this side? So, I guess first.
Well, Arnold Bentley said that music is for every child and every child for music. I think it starts from very early on, and you know, now everybody can go into education, like maybe not university and things like that, but like music is something, like no matter what class you come from, nobody can take it away from you. So like, I agree with a lot of your points, but then also I agree with mine. So
as well as with in popular music, the main topics that are covered are death, love, sex, money. They're the same main topics that are covered in operas. Like, it's the same, there's still people going against things, like, all classical music isn't just like all like blasé and la-di-da this, la-di-da that. Like, there is passion in that.
yeah,
There's passion in popular music just as much as there is in
Mozart was
classical music.
like, he suffered from depression.
I'd struggle to understand why society lets it sort of separate us, especially in classes. I think it's unfair to say that sort of the lower classes, like, I don't know, like, can't understand just because it's in a different language or it means in a different, like, you could sit in a room and listen to Beethoven and you'd feel something even if you didn't know what he was going on about, which is the exact same. I mean, Gangnam Style, no one knows what the hell he's saying. Everyone just wants to dance and, like, it makes you happy. So
I do agree with what you're saying, but I think it's the availability to the lower classes if a higher form of art is there, kind of thing. I think what Sharon is saying as well with the school thing, with the government controlling what's going into schools and not being able to have the arts there and not being able to rebel as such. I think in that sense it's the higher classes controlling what we are allowed to listen to, you know, what we are allowed to be submerged into, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And that's kind of like, we're giving kind of like a facade of freedom in that sense.
yeah, a lot of songs have like been banned, and like obviously with Bob Dylan's Tambourine Man, like that's to do with drugs, but they couldn't talk about drugs back then, and that was probably somebody from a higher class that was like, no, it's not acceptable. Like, I know where you're coming from with that, but
Awesome. Thank you very much.
I might take a while.
Yeah, I think Nathan's a little bit upset because you've been talking about class and you didn't mention Nathan.
Sorry.
The book is amazing.
oh wait a minute, I've got a clue.
Hey!
Oh, that's my God.
Okay, so
Got that on tape.
hurt feelings aside,
Yeah, it's fine. It's just my professional reputation, don't I?
I would suggest that it's problematic stating the notion lower class music. What the hell does that mean? How on earth do you even define
There's
that?
kind of like high and low culture, isn't there? So
Yes, but is that the same thing or is that different?
I think it's where it's aimed mainly.
Okay.
Not like.
I just think you'd be struggling for a definition when you say something like lower class music, because but even saying that sounds really patronising, doesn't it?
Like,
with lower class
written
music,
by
it can also depend on like what the genre is. It's like hip hop and R&B, blues used to be the music of the people.
Yeah.
And like with blues and hip hop, it was more to do with I don't really. It's like
It's also that's a very US thing.
the US thing with like the slave trade and how
But how do you
Look,
relate that to the UK though? What would be
UK. It's
what
like
would be ours?
with the music travelling. We like the working class ourselves could associate
well, not ourselves, but like some people can associate that if they're living in the slums and if they're not going through a hard time, they can like listen to music of where people are going, where people are singing about being chained up and everything. They can kind of associate like not being able to do what they want to do.
But
not
there's not
having
really that
money to
many
do it.
people in this country that would have experienced that necessarily.
Yeah, no,
So I
I
think
think
it ties in with what you were saying about a false class consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, definitely. I think with the British version of like the blues and things is folk music.
Yeah.
So for example, kind of like in its heyday, you know, you saw folk bands in the clubs, you know, you saw them in pubs, but then now you see it on festival stages, which is another form of higher culture in that sense, ish.
So you're saying that now
James,
that folk music is on a bigger stage.
I think
changed class.
I think it's changed its authenticity in
I
some
think live
ways.
music is
You
like
know.
starting to not die down, like, but I think it's hard to see good live music now because there's not many venues. Like I went to the Labour Club, that had some really good live music, but that's the first time that I've actually seen anything decent locally in a couple of years, to be fair.
I think Jones was making a good point with regards to punk, and then after a while becoming assimilated into the canon. So you could say, for example, would you suggest then that those of a lower class or lower income face a canonical glass ceiling, which ties into what you were saying with regards to the educated elite and the philosophy and academia and all that kind of thing that kind of sits at a very specific level.
There's only so far you can go with a rebellion without having the backing of an army and money and everything that
And not
the
being pushed
government
out
does
there.
have.
Yeah.
You need to be rich to rebel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting,
You
and I
need-
think that
yeah.
ties in.
Rich in money or rich in people.
The example that you showed I thought was great with the Coldplay and I'm assuming it was the Mozart, was it?
No, it's Caramia Ben.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so you've got those two examples there, and effectively they're being kind of presented to you in the same language, but it's a language of a particular class.
Yeah.
Yeah?
What I want to know, something else, sorry, I'm just going to ask another question. You know how you said that you have to have money to have piano lessons, violin lessons, blah, blah, blah. So why is it so much easier just to pick up a guitar and learn how to play it?
Because of,
Every instrument's difficult to learn. It just depends on the effort that you're willing to put into
because
it.
it's the effort of people who have had guitar lessons and things like that, putting things on YouTube, allowing it to be available to the mass audience and
Yeah.
So as the
spreading knowledge
people
as
that
well.
learn piano, they do the exact same thing.
Exactly.
But then
So
again, you
it's-
also have to have the money to buy the instruments. Not particularly with
Not
voice, because
necessarily.
voice is, you can't really buy a voice, can you?
I learned to play the piano and I don't have a piano.
See, I didn't learn, but I self-taught, I couldn't afford it, but guaranteed I'm not very good, but
So actually, what are we looking at here then? Are we looking at a new money versus old money argument? Is that what this is?
What
So
is
A
it?
new
I
money versus
don't
old
understand
money?
how money has anything to do with it. I mean,
Because
In our
money is
day and
money is
age.
class.
Yeah.
but in our day and age, every sort of music is accessible now.
and I think if you're that willing to put the work in,
I
yeah,
mean,
it doesn't matter too much on the
Yeah.
class.
popular music's always going to be shoved in your face just because it's on
No,
adverts,
it's
it's on the radio. and stuff.
Yeah, I think you can come from a lower class, and I think a lot of the time, lower class people are more hardworking. So
Well,
they,
definitely,
if you
because
want
that's
it,
why
like
they
if you
call
want
working
it that
class.
bad, then you'll get it. Like,
Yeah, but there's also like a barrier of
Oh, yeah,
where
there's
you
really, like,
can't,
speed
where you
bumps
can't
and
go any
whatever.
further because you haven't got anything, you haven't got any contacts, which
but
people
it's
of a
up to
higher
you
class
to
probably
make the
have.
contact.
But how do you make that when you don't know where to get it from?
You
when
go
you don't
out
have
and you just
Research.
learn. You do
Also, I wonder
research.
if the point Megan is saying here is if the upper class or that particular level of elite don't have to worry about going to work, so they can spend all their
Yeah.
time
Yeah, exactly.
devoting it to the creative process, whereas people with a lower income can't do that.
Yeah.
You have to work first,
Yeah.
and
With that
Then
argument,
create.
Yeah.
classical music takes a lot more work than popular music does because classical music.
I would
is not-
I'm gonna leave it
It's
down.
written in a way where
I
there
would
is a right and
argue-
a wrong way to do it. Whereas popular
Yeah, you're
music,
right.
it's from the heart, like you sing it how you mean it, how you
So is
sort
that,
of deconstruct it.
So
whereas-
with you saying about the passion coming from opera music, so are you saying that opera is now passionless? Or
no, but it's
because
written
popular
into
music
the
doesn't
music.
have passion?
No,
I'm
it's
so
written
confused
into
in what
the
you're
music.
trying to say.
That's
what I-
said that it's written into the music. That some scores you can sing, like they say, sing it. You got the sotto voce. You can sing it sotto voce, but you can sing it the way you sing it.
I would also say, there's the argument that it takes more effort to learn a violin or something like that, but if you sit someone down who's trying to learn the violin at a laptop or something and say, write me like drum and bass track, they're not going to be able to do it. So there's just as much,
That's interesting.
just as much effort.
But there's more
taking
leeway to
in both.
sort of go with like classical music. You write it in like there's got to be certain chord structure. It's got to be within those sort of
Not necessarily.
lines.
Not
whereas
necessarily
pop
a chord
music-
structure, but something to follow.
I
Not
understand.
necessarily a chord structure.
I mean, with
Right,
classical
we're going to
music,
wind this up, folks.
Oh.
Can I just ask a couple of questions? Isn't it about education? Isn't it about where you go to school and whether you get good music tuition?
I think like
Yeah.
it's kind of like
It's about what education is available to you
Well,
and whether you're available to pay for it and gain the best, and then be able to go into the best jobs and be able to control those.
But is that not the same in the popular music though?
But you say about like
Because
how
then you
people
can
can teach themselves and some people get taught.
Yeah,
There are some
because you get help from the
people
government
who
who are
can't
a higher
teach
status.
themselves.
I'm sorry, but I couldn't afford to go
Why
to
should
Cambridge
that-
without somebody giving me the money to be able to go to Cambridge. I wouldn't be able to go
now
here.
you
What
mentioned
does that have to do
Cambridge.
with music?
There was
I
someone who's called George the Poet. He is a poet and a rapper who literally just graduated from Cambridge, coming from
Did-
a council estate.
Yeah, but
in
could he afford the tuition fees to go to Cambridge?
Yeah.
He would, how can he afford to go to
Or
Cambridge?
did he get a government
he-
loan?
He got a scholarship.
So
He
he
got
got
help,
help
so
from the
he
government.
earned it.
I'm sorry,
He worked
but-
hard.
Would be an effect
Hold on, hold on,
of
listen, listen.
should be an effect of
Exactly.
government putting pressure on posh
Exactly.
universities to put bursaries towards working class
Yeah.
kids.
Exactly. Which is mockery. I'm sorry, but it's
Can I ask a slightly broader question? I appreciate time is
Yeah,
an
we
issue.
get time getting on.
You seem to be suggesting everyone can access everything. Off you go. You seem to be suggesting actually it's all very limited.
well, it's available. But it's diluted in
Okay.
that sense.
My question is it possible for certain classes to have more ability to transcend their class boundaries in terms of the things that they consume than other classes? So is it more possible for, say, upper middle class listeners to go slumming it than it is for working class listeners to go the other
They
direction?
don't have
They
the
can afford
fear
it.
because as soon as they get bored of slumming it,
Yeah,
they
they
can just
can
go
go-
back
they
home
can
to
just
their
go back.
mum.
Yeah, they can go with
Whereas
it.
you
But for the working class to live the high life, they've got to earn it. They've got to work and work and work
Yeah.
and get the money so they can live the high life. But they won't be able to live the high life for long because unless they keep working and working and working to keep the money coming.
I have a
But
counter
it
argument.
runs
What
But
was that?
I have a counter argument to
But
that,
no matter
Teresa.
what your class, you're
Yeah.
still going
Yeah,
to
but
have
she
to
did
work
just
for it.
accept.
You're still going to have to work for it.
So she's summing it in that sense.
Yeah.
No, I'm losing track of the erudite answers.
So you're
to my
still going to
questions.
have to work for your status in a way. Like if you are higher class, you do.
You have to
I
keep
don't know,
working.
but you do have to
You have to
work
keep working
I
to
don't
stay
know how
higher
it's
class.
I don't understand how you can work for the status when mummy and daddy are paying your way in the world.
No, but they have to work for that. Like it's
Not
kind of-
necessarily
Not
not
necessarily.
money.
It could be whether or not if you've inherited the money or if the money's been
Fight.
passed down.
Ah, that's it.
I do agree with like having to like work to keep the money up.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're in that, say, I'm going to go back to like the Cambridge thing. It's like, say, if you studied maybe arts at Cambridge, right, and then arts at Northampton, and you went to a job and it was two people with same degree, similar degrees, same marks, someone's going to look at Cambridge, Northampton,
Yeah,
Cambridge.
but I don't think that's the person.
I'm very daily.
I think it's the
We're a top 50
I think that's the
university.
university though. I don't think that's the person that you are.
Yeah, but
there's
because
probably a lot
because
of
Cambridge is known as an upper
Yeah, I can't
class
see this
university.
finding out anytime soon.
Yeah, I can understand that, but it's the
Yeah.
university's reputation, not the person's. Like,
Yeah, the
Absolutely.
it's not higher class
university
people that come
reputation.
here.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
look at
it's
the
the
people
same-
who go to
it's-
Cambridge. No offence to everybody who comes
But
to
there was someone in the
Northampton,
Cambridge riots who was involved, someone who went to Cambridge University who was involved in riots, just like how there was someone who was involved in the Olympics and a volunteer for the Olympics, which is seen as a middle class, upper class thing, was involved in the
But
riots.
That's
volunteer-
purposely
Everybody's going to judge
But it's
everybody
all
on
about
their classes, not
reputation
what
as
person
well.
But in this day and age, you need the experience in work to get somewhere in life, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you very much, well done. Great stuff. So we're going to have to disband this now because obviously Nathan and I need to discuss this. Okay, so there is a 4-week turnaround on this, but I'll make sure that hopefully you get all your stuff before Christmas. Sometimes like that.
I'm so sorry.
Everyone's like,